Okay, so as we discussed now the verbs and tenses, I told you we are going to discuss the different types of verbs. Now there are three kinds of verbs you would see. To modify it, so we use modal verbs. To use it in the more of supporting verbs, we use gerunds, and then we use auxiliary verbs. So we would see to them one by one. Okay, so these are the three types where we take the support of these verbs to support the actual verb, actual action verb. Okay, let us see one by one. First, we would talk about modal verbs. Now, what are modal verbs? MODAL. Modal, some call it modal verbs. So, you can call it as you want to. Modal verbs. Now, what happens in the modal verbs? As the name says, when we modify things, when we modify something, we use the word modify. So when we are modifying the verb, we are supporting the verb in a modified format, we would take help of modal verbs. Now, what are modal verbs? I would give you the words which belong to modal verbs, that is can, ought to, okay, then could, would, might, must, will, shall, should, may. These are basically modal verbs. When we use it in the sentence, we call it modal verbs. Everything in English, each word in the English sentences have given a particular name, have given a particular title. So that's what we must understand. Where we need the help of modal verb, where we need the help of auxiliary, gerunds, we need to understand it so that we don't mess it up. Okay, so when we use modal verbs, let us see. General, when I basically make a simple present tense, I write, just now we learned the tenses. So I would tell you, he speaks Chinese. We call it this, right? This is a simple present tense. But when I add the modal, speaks is the verb, right? Now I want to modify the verb, give the support to the verb. So what I would give, he can speak Chinese. Now in this you can see I did not add S to the speak. Why I did not add? Whenever the modal verb comes into the simple present or present tense, we did not put S into it. We use the basic form without S. Okay, so you need to be careful for when we put the modal verb in the sentence, we need to be careful for the actual verb. It is supporting the verb. You can see it is just placed before the actual verb. Okay, so this is the first example I have given to you. Now let me tell you how can we add not into these sentence. For example, he cannot speak Chinese. Now what has happened here? I wanted to make this sentence negative. So just to make it negative, I added not. So whenever you are using modal verb, if you add not to it, the sentence becomes negative automatically. You need not write additionally something to it. You just may not, should not, shall not. We can just write it in the short form as well, but generally it is not preferred in the international exam that you write this way. This is considered wrong. You would write it that this way, may not. Okay, you need to write it this way. Even this should be written as not. You can't write it in a skipping format. They don't accept it. So you can just add not in front of it and it would become negative automatically. Okay, but one thing you need to be careful for, that is in future tense or in past tense, you cannot use these modal verbs. You can't say she musted play. This is incorrect sentence. She must play, she musted play. You can't say it in the past. That's the effect of modal verb. You need to be careful for that in the past and future. You would not be using the modal verb. You can't say in the future part that she will, may not play. This is the wrong framing of the sentence. In the past and future, modal verbs are not used. It doesn't play the effective role. Only at the present tense and some of the places at past and future tense you can play the role of it. You cannot write mustard or will, may. This cannot be written this way. All right. Now we would talk about the gerunds.